Hello guys, yeah, my name is Xiaowei Gao and I'm the first year PhD student of the Space-Time Lab of the UCL. So today am going to present our work about the spatial temporal analysis of human cycling patterns changes during weekdays under the COVID-19 lockdown rules. And this case study of London dogged share bicycles. Um, and We all know that the lockdown rules in London and changed people's mobilities and the usage of public transport. And so we choose the the TFL data for Santander cycle, which is the most popular shared bicycle with the largest coverage of people's daily activities to do the case analysis to see what is the changes before and during the lockdown. And in our work, we're going to achieve three research interests. The first one is about to use this data and to extract people's mobility during the epidemic period. And as mentioned, this shared bicycle is a very popular way and with high demand. So this study will tentatively reflect the daily activities under the impact of COVID-19 and the corresponding controlling policy. So the second one is about based on the graph theories and hierarchical clustering methods, we could characterize the system level as well as the station level of the whole bicycle shared system. And also we could analyze the general insights of the policy impact on the whole society's activities, especially with the cycling patterns. So next I will introduce about the data firstly, and this is data from the TFL website, and it contains the geotag and temporal information with details of time, date, and year. So we could do the parallel comparison between 2 years in the corresponding date, and also the geo visualization can be found online. Yeah, so for the system level, the first plot is about the daily count of each day's trip in 2019 and 2020. This will give us the whole view of the daily patterns in these 2 years. So we could say that before the lockdown rules, the trip numbers and daily cycling patterns are almost similar, whereas after the lockdown, especially the following 1 month, we could see a dramatic decline in 2020. However, during the whole summer in 2020, the cycling trips have raised significantly. So for the numerical changes and trend in 2020, we could propose that the lockdown rules bring great impact to the cycling patterns. And so then, in order to summarize the impact from the lockdown rules corresponding to COVID-19 more precisely, our study visualized the 24-hour cycling activities before and during lockdown. The color represents the trip count in the specific time. Yeah, the X-ray is about the time of 1 day of 24 hours, and the Y ray is about the date before lockdown and during the lockdown. And it is easy to follow that before the lockdown, the weeks have two significant peaks in morning and afternoon. But after during the lockdown, I think especially during the 1 month, this trend has been vanished. But we have to know whether this before the lockdown, this two peaks is normal or is corresponding to the normal time. So we visualize the 2019 the 2019 situation, which is really interesting that the 2019 situation is much normal, and during the weekdays we could see two peak periods time, and during the weekends we could see an inter peak period. And the number of total values is calculated by and the inflow count and the outflow count in these specific time intervals. So for the more comprehensive understanding of this COVID-19 lockdown rules, we will follow the official guidance to define the AM peak, inter peak, and the PM peak. The AM peak is about from the 7 a.m. to 10 a.m. and the inter peak is about the 10 a.m. to the 4 p.m. and the PM peak is the 4 p.m. to 8 p.m. So we could see that the situation in AM peak has no great differences. This period has even vanished from the April 2020, whereas the PM peak is still existing. So we could simply summarize that summarize the reason why the PM peak is existing is that during this time interval, people have been changing their transport purpose, even though the lockdown rules restrict their community activities. So in order to analyze about the changes of the purpose of the people's choice, so we define March 23rd, 2020, the first lockdown starting date and the milestone, and then extract the weekdays in 4 periods of weeks in both 2019 and 2020. The selected 4 period of weekends in 2019 is tentatively the reference showing the normal daily patterns before lockdown. Then the selected time period of 2020 were to demonstrate the patterns during lockdown time. And the mobility situation of the week starting January 2020, starting January 20th in 2020 could be supplementary to that of 2019. The data information is shown here, and we can see the numbers of trips and also numbers of bicycles. So we firstly pick top 10 in the station level. We firstly pick top 20 stations, even though there is 800 stations. The situation of top 10 station have the largest number of trips, which could show us some basic mobility patterns. And the red bubbles is about the 2019, and the blue bubbles is about 2020. The purples both appears in these 2 years. So in this is the before the lockdown time, we can see that the situation is quite similar in both 2 years, and there are almost 10 or over 10 purple bubbles, which means these two situations, these 2 years share this almost the same situation before the lockdown. And during the first week of the lockdown, we can find that the situation has been changed. And in the 2020, and the most popular stations is almost in the central London, but in the 2019, the most popular stations is almost the central London, and in the 2020, and people are prone to use these bicycles to nearby the parks or as well as nearby the river. And with the time going, we can find that the first week of the May, I think the weather is more warmer. It's much more warmer, and we can find that the patterns in 2019 is still similar to the former two proposed weeks, but for the 2020, the situation has been also changed, maybe more to some parks and a later purpose. And this pattern has very significant changes in the in these 2 weeks. In this weeks, and this week is we can say it's just like the mid time of the lockdown, and maybe people may have maybe get used to the COVID-19 and maybe get used to the lockdown rules. And in the 2020, we can see that maybe people have more cycling activities nearby the Hydro Park and Kensington Park, as well as nearby the Thames River. So this is the top 20 stations situation, and for the further study of the people's transport choice and the transport demand on the docked bicycle sharing system, we just choose the graph theory and the level algorithm to do the further analysis. And the nodes are the stations, and the edge are the trips connecting each pair of two stations. Thus, the weight in the whole network is defined by the number of flows and that start or end at nodes. The degree is the number of edges and connect with the node. So for the graph theory and for the hierarchical algorithms, we firstly define 128 clustering of the total 801 stations according to the around proportion with the recent literature, then use the hierarchical clustering method based on the station spatial distance. After that, we found the geospatial centers as they node represent their individual cluster. So with the method, we could tentatively get the distribution map of the small scale clusters shown in this figure, and which can help us to analyze the hub areas of in and out traffic flow. Yes, and we all know that the usage of shared bicycle system can be regarded as two actions, namely the refolding and the removal. So we visualize the inflow and outflow with the number of trips. The bigger and darker the node is, the more trips have been in or out of these areas. The edges are the number of trips between each pair of nodes, which can help us to conduct a flow analysis. So before the lockdown, the hub areas of the refolding action were typical in central London, namely near the Waterloo Station, Holborn Station, and between the Oxford Circus and Tottenham Court Road Station. The most significant trip flow were the connections within the Waterloo Station, Holborn, and the City of London. And the other part of the cities shows no major refueling patterns. But for the first week of the lockdown, the patterns have the major changes, although people will still use the docked stations nearby the Waterloo Station and Oxford Street. The areas around the Victoria Station and Hydro Park attract more people during the weekdays, which is corresponding to the top 20 stations conclusion. Furthermore, the flow between Hydro Park and the Kensington Gardens and within the Olympic were more significant than normal days. Due to the lockdown rules, we can find more trips within the SIP node. Within the SIP node. So which we can see, we can think that it's maybe people cycling distance have been shorter than normal, and then these new patterns show a similarity with the fourth week we examined. So when the lockdown rules have taken place around 1 month in early May, the usage of the whole city station show the more balanced trend, and the other nodes of the public transport systems had a greater size as well. This is the inflow. So for the outflow, we can find that the removal actions and the patterns before lockdown are consistent with the refolding actions, especially the hub area and the flow within them. However, compared with the stations in the first week of lockdown, the usage of the situation nearby baseway water had a very clear increase. With the tempo changes, the start station nearby the hydro park have become more important, and the trips within the Olympic parks have increased significantly. So from the station level, within the 20 with the top 20 stations and the in-out flow, we can find that even during the weekdays, maybe people they are prone to use this docked bicycle system to their leisure time rather than in the normal days. They may use it as a community method. And then we use the Levin algorithm to study the connections within some communities. And this method is used to divide the whole network community into several density linked sub-communities and compare the changes of these communities. The number of trips within these sub-community structures is higher than those between the sub-communities. So which means within this community, they may have more close connection. So we can find that in the first week, the whole London divided into 4 parts. The red part contained the Olympic Park and the Lemon House region, connected with the blue part, which mainly included King's Cross and the City of London, and the yellow part, which was the Southwark and the Kensington regions. Moreover, the large orange community covers Hammersmith boroughs, City of Westminster, and Kensington and Hydro Park. With the lockdown rules have the full effect, the clearest change occurred within the orange community, with people have much shorter trips patterns. Thus, the original orange part has less connective and was especially separated into 2 parts: gray one covering the Kingston and Hydro Park, and orange one covering the Fulham and Chelsea separately. Furthermore, during the first week of lockdown, the whole graph showed a very sparse situation in their work. So it can draw a direct conclusion that the major of citizens follow the policies and they stay at home. And so for the following 2 weeks, we can find that especially in the June, the yellow part clearly extend to the orange, and orange, blue, and red parts, showing that those regions more strongly connected in the City of Westminster, as well as the north side of the river, and also the orange part enlarged around the north and south x-ray, letting the gray part become more thinner in this direction. Thus, we can assume that the cycling patterns around Hydro Park may not a big differences, while the cycling activities in Earl's Court, Hammersmith, and Chelsea has a stronger connective with Kensington than with Southwark. Yeah. Okay, so in this study, we could analyze the spatial patterns, and we could tentatively think that maybe people use this shared bicycle system with shorter distance, and maybe even in the weekdays, maybe with the impact of lockdown, people may use it for more leisure time during the PM peak hours. Yeah, that's all. Thank you.
Bit more broadly, is this related to your PhD research? And if so, where will you take it after this?
Yeah, well, I think it will be the start point of my PhD research, and for the further research, we are based on this paper. Or we analysis more furtherly on the separate time of each day and under the COVID-19 impact. Yeah.
Thank you. There's a question here. Says, nice work, thanks. Just to clarify, did you compare the pre and post-COVID change of distance travel by cycling?
Yes, we try to compare this one, and also we will compare the distance as well as the time between two nodes and between each trips. So it's a very good direction for our further study, and we are trying to do this.